15th of September 2015. I woke up in the Galway Bay Hotel at 7:45 a.m. and switched my alarm off. Sounds nice, doesn't it? My phone rang a couple of moments later and my life was changed forever. My aunt's name flashed up on my phone. Hello? Michelle, are you with anybody? My aunt said. No, I'm down in Galway. Is my mum okay? Your mum's fine. Oh, Michelle, Anne said. What, Anne, what's wrong? It's Derek, Michelle. He's hanged himself. Is he okay? Is he still alive? No, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. He's gone, honey. My whole heart literally shattered into pieces. I remember nothing more that was said after that, and I crumbled to the floor, shaken like a leaf, and howled. How I didn't wake the whole hotel, I do not know. I literally lay in a ball on the floor, howling. I wouldn't even call it crying because there were no tears. It was just screaming. Then I remembered my work colleague was in the next room. I managed to get myself off the floor and banged her door down. I don't even know what I said to her, but she took me into her arms and just hugged me. Then I needed to be sick. I heard her on the phone to somebody, and it was then I decided I needed to go. I needed to get into our car and just go. I had to ring my family first. My mum was in Spain with her partner, my dad on the way to Spain with his wife, and I couldn't bring myself to pick up the phone and call either of them. I rang my husband. God only knows how he understood what I said, but he took control and told me it was going to be okay and they would get me home. I asked him to contact my mum and my other brother Robert. I didn't even think of how he would manage to make them phone calls. I howled again. I kept repeating, my baby brother is dead. I called my best friend and sobbed down the phone. She couldn't even understand what I was saying, and when she finally got me, she sobbed too. She said she was coming to get me. Something came over me then, and I somehow managed to compose myself enough to get dressed, pack my bag, and myself and my work colleague got into the car. I insisted I was okay and wanted to drive. I just needed to get home. I needed to be with Derek right away and tell him it was going to be okay. I rang my husband again and told him under no circumstances was Derek to be left alone, that he needed one of us with him at all times. He told me the medics, fire brigade and the undertakers were already there. I didn't care. I told him Derek didn't want to be alone. The rest of that day is a blur, but it's a morning that I will never, ever forget, and something that replays in my mind over and over many times a week. On that day, my baby brother Derek, who was just 24 years young, decided he couldn't take any more of this life and made the decision to end his own. The first few days that followed were the most horrendous days I have ever had in my entire life. My dad arriving home, my mum arriving home, going to meet with the funeral home, organising the funeral, having to pick out a coffin. Coffin shopping. It made me sick to my stomach. I had to leave the room, picking prayers and readings for his funeral, booking somewhere for the afters, arranging flowers, songs, picking out the plot for his resting place. I don't know now how we all managed to do those things. If I had to do it over, I honestly do not think I could cope. The worst was waiting to see my baby brother when he was brought home for his wake. Wake, it's a funny name. It's all just so surreal now, like something you would see from a film. Here he was, getting taken out of a hearse in a coffin. Myself, my brother Robert and our mum and dad had to hold each other up. It was horrendous. I can't even breathe when I think about that moment. He was brought in and laid out in his bedroom. When I seen his beautiful face, he looked so peaceful, like he was smiling. So handsome. His hair was so lovely too. He loved his hair. I was so afraid to touch him. It honestly just looked like he was sleeping. The funeral director helped me to touch his face and give him a kiss, and then something came over me. I couldn't stop kissing him, or rubbing his hair. He wasn't to be left in that room alone. Somebody needed to be with him at all times, and I told everybody the same. There were crowds of people in my mum's for them days, family and friends, and they were all so unbelievably amazing to us. We would not have coped without them all around, but I didn't care who was there. I spent most of my time by Derek's side, rubbing his hands, his hair, kissing his face, playing him music and singing to him. I was in a daze and only felt okay when I was beside him. I hadn't sank in that he was gone. I am writing this post firstly to raise awareness, secondly to make anybody with suicidal thoughts aware of what is left behind, and lastly to let you all know about the amazing work done at Pieta House. Derek had turned 24 just 24 days before he took his own life. He had suffered with depression for quite some time alongside drug addictions. This successful attempt had not been Derek's first attempt to take his own life. In April 2015 he made an attempt, and thankfully then he was not successful. He got disturbed and was advised by a doctor that he should attend the hospital and speak with a psychiatric specialist. We all took him to the hospital that night and were sat in the A&E department for a few hours. He was finally called in and seen to by the specialists and was in and out quicker than I had time to get a coffee. There was nothing wrong with him, they said. They couldn't help him there. He was referred to his local GP, psychiatric care, with a referral letter in his hands. I was in shock. My whole family were in shock. He was sent away after making an attempt to take his own life with a letter in his hand. The following morning I contacted the unit he had been referred to see when he could go in, and they said they had received the referral and gave an appointment for him on the phone. It was for 2 months' time. 2 months? Are you actually kidding me? I asked. I kicked up a bit of a fuss on the phone and told them exactly what I thought. I couldn't understand it. We tried and tried to get professional help for Derek at the time, but all we ended up was getting any sort of help from was counsellors. That's all that was available. We didn't know where to turn to as a family. All we could do was encourage Derek to go for counselling, which is what we done. He went for 1 session and that was it. Help for people with mental health issues in this country is not readily available. In fact, the mental health system in Ireland is an absolute disgrace, and Derek is proof of that. Our professionals sent him home and told him that there was nothing wrong with him. Really? Well then why is he 6 feet under now? Derek could have been saved with the right professional help, and I firmly believe this. He didn't want to die. He had mental health problems, and with the right treatment and care he could still be with us today. We are just one of many families let down by the lack of support for people with mental health issues. On average, 500 people per year take their own life in Ireland. Approximately 400 of this number are men. A study of young Irish men aged 18 to 34 years revealed that 78% knew someone who had died by suicide, 42% knew more than one person, and 17% had a close friend who completed suicide. Those figures are just crazy. If only they knew what they were leaving behind. Let me tell you what it's like being one of many people left behind, affected and totally devastated by my brother taking his own life. I cry a lot, mostly when I am alone. My own mind is now probably my worst enemy. I sometimes question my own sanity and pray that my mind will just stop. Stop making me think of things that I can't bear to think about. Like last night, I lay in bed trying so hard to get some sleep, but my heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my back. And my mind was playing out the moment Derek took his own life, as if I was there with him at the time and I was replaying a memory. I could see him gasping for his last breath. I just wanted to stop sometimes. Why is it so powerful that I can play out something you have never seen or experienced? That's what I mean when I say it's my worst enemy at times. I try very, very hard to put on a brave face when I am having a bad day. The bad days are the worst. I'm angry. I question everything. Why Derek? He was harmless. He had a heart of gold. And he was probably one of the most affectionate and loving men I know. He always told us he loved us. He always rang my mum when she had a few drinks on him to just tell her he loves the bones of her. He was so funny too. Always knew how to make us laugh from the time he was able to talk. I had my rows with him through the years, gave him a hard time for some of the choices he was making in life and about his drug use, but only because I cared and wanted the best for him. It does still make me feel guilty now. I always gave him a hard time for having his friends in my mum's when she wasn't there, and it's funny the way things go, because as I mentioned earlier, my mum was away when Derek died, but the last time I seen him, which was Saturday night, he died on the Tuesday. I was going out for a few drinks and wanted to have a few before I headed out, and my mum said to me that there was some vodka in her apartment I could take, so I texted Des and said I would be over to get some vodka, and he said no bother. When I got over, he had a few of his friends there, and their girlfriends were there, and they were all having a few drinks and watching the football. And for once I didn't bark orders for them to leave. I sat with them for a bit having the chats, and me and Des had a few laughs together. I went in to get the vodka, and it was some brand that's like 40% volume, and Des said, "You know that's 40%, Chell." And my cousin Alan, who was there with Des, said, "Not anymore, it's not." And they all burst out laughing. The feckers were after drinking most of it and topped it back up with water. We had a laugh, and I left them with the watered down vodka and told them to have a good night. Des gave me a hug and said, "Thanks, Shell." I knew he was thanking me for not giving out, for having crowds there, and also for watering down my vodka. That was the last time I heard his lovely laugh, and the last hug I got from him. That's a memory that I think about a lot, and when I say I would give my two legs to do exactly the same thing I done when I seen him last, I would. I would say I'd give my arms too, but I want to keep them so I can hug him and never let go. My heart is broken. My heart is broken not only for me but for my family too. My mum and dad. How can parents bury their own child? How are they coping? When I think of how they must feel, my heart feels like it's shattered into a million pieces. They are the strongest people I know, and they are there for me and my brother Robert, and encourage us both to talk about our feelings and ask how we are doing every day as we do with them. But how they do it when their own hearts are broken, I do not know. I worry about them both every single day. My brother Robert, he's the biggest heart of gold and is the world's #1 worrier. He worries about everybody and always wants to be sure that we are all okay, even though his heart has been ripped out. He adored Derek and done everything he could to protect him. He was always there for Derek no matter what, and they were as close as brothers can be and spoke crap about crap every day on WhatsApp. Rob still goes to send Derek links on articles to read about football or whatever because they done it every day. He is a broken man now, but still makes sure everybody else is okay before himself. He's also probably better than any counsellor out there for getting you to discuss your feelings. He is one of a kind and I love him very much. It hurts me seeing him hurt so much. He's kept busy with his 3-year-old torment of a daughter, Emma. Torment in the sweetest way is what I mean. My only niece. Derek's only niece. Boy, did he adore her. She's the funniest, craziest little wagon there is, and she says everything now, and he will never get to see all of that. She will never remember the love that Derek had for her, or the bond that they had. She loves her Uncle Derek and talks about him all the time. At Christmas, when my mum got upset at dinner time, she said, "Is Nana upset because she is missing my Uncle Derek?" She's a clever little cookie. She sings an Adele song that's only new out, and I cry every time I hear the song now because it makes me think of her and Derek and how he didn't get to see how amazing she was at singing that song. She's actually a shocking singer, really, but it's funny and she entertains us all, and that's what I mean by amazing. They are just some of the feelings that go through my head, some of the pain I feel, and some of the sorrow that I carry around with me most days. Don't get me wrong, I have good days mostly, but this last week has been really bad, and I'm trying to pull myself back out of them. I have an amazing family and friends around me that always pull me out of it, so I know I will get through it.